didn't you just say that you knew I wasn't going to comment on the litigation? But let me just say...
But is it still ongoing since you didn't appeal?
We didn't appeal last Friday. I think that's accurate.
So you could still in the future in another form.
But what we have in front of us, just so that the viewing public understands, we have not one, but multiple, I think it's 8 or 10 filings that the staff and ultimately the commission is considering for what's called exchange-traded products, for Bitcoin to be in a security. So the Bitcoin would be held, and then there would be something called an exchange-traded product, and that would trade on various stock exchanges. And those filings are in front of us. I can't prejudge any one of them, but there's 8 or 10 that we're looking at. Again, I'm not going to prejudge. The staff's doing work on those multiple filings, but it's also about those companies are issuers. See, when a company is actually, or an asset manager is seeking to take something public, these exchange-traded products need to register with the SEC, and they go through a filing somewhat similar to going public, like an IPO.
Ripple XRP holders should take this information seriously. XRP is quietly getting ready for a significant public release. In this video, I will show you some eye-opening statistics as well as some charts and other behind-the-scenes information that you do not want to miss. If you already own XRP or are considering to add it to your investment portfolio, you should definitely check this out. A recent development about an XRP whale transferring a significant amount of XRP after Ripple's victory over SEC. Where exactly did this whale transfer the $30 million worth of XRP tokens, and what was their destination? And how can this single transaction bring two significant corporations to Ripple and to XRP, which might potentially have an effect on the price? Up until this point, the entire thing was a secret. You will be able to observe and gain a better understanding of everything that is taking place thanks to this video. I'm going to discuss how XRP is defying all the odds and overcoming all the hurdles, including things like the lawsuit brought against it by the SEC, the global financial crisis and market manipulation, amongst many other things. You have likely been hearing about it on a daily basis due to the sale of XRP in unregistered capacity as a security. This case is one of the most important in legal history, not just for the cryptocurrency business, but also for how the laws governing securities in the United States will change over time and how cryptocurrency will be categorized within the broader financial system. As you are already aware, the judge decided in favor of Ripple and determined that the sale of XRP to the general public on centralized exchanges does not constitute the sale of a security. The Securities and Exchange Commission gave notice to the court on October 19 through a file made in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. The parties who were involved in the action against Ripple have agreed to have it dismissed with prejudice, which suggests that there was either nothing to schedule a future trial for, or that there was no reason to schedule one. It was not stated in the statement that the SEC was withdrawing its civil complaint against Ripple itself, which had been initially filed in the year 2020. However, the SEC has decided to drop its complaint against Chris Larsen and Brad Garlinghouse, and the case has finally been dismissed. In the most recent filing, it was stated that the SEC and Ripple intend to meet and confer on a proposed briefing schedule with respect to the outstanding issue in the matter. In light of Ripple's violations of Section 5 regarding the institutional sales of XRP, what kinds of appropriate remedies are there against the company? Patents what they were saying were securities, and they politely requested until November 8th to present such a schedule to the court. Alternatively, if the parties cannot agree, they will ask the court for a contested briefing schedule. According to the records, this is what is being said, and the chief legal officer of Ripple, Stuart Alderete, described the action as a surrender on the part of the SEC rather than a settlement. On Twitter, Brad Garlinghouse wrote that today was an even better day than yesterday, since although Ripple is currently at 3, the SEC is currently at 0. In all seriousness, Chris and Hin were targeted by the SEC in a case involving no allegations of fraud or misrepresentations in a brutal attempt to personally ruin them and the company that so many others have worked hard to develop for over a decade. Chris and Hin were targeted in a case involving no claims of fraud or misrepresentations. The Securities and Exchange Commission frequently failed to protect U.S. firms and consumers because they took their eyes off the ball while surreptitiously meeting with individuals such as Sam Bankman-Fried. How many millions of dollars worth of taxpayer money was wasted? It's a relief to know that I was right all along. Now, what this indicates is that the charges brought against Brad and Chris have been dismissed, but the action brought against the SEC by Ripple, the company addressing the sale of XRP to institutional investors as a security, is still active and being pursued. Nevertheless, according to Jeremy Hogan, this does make a full settlement much more possible, as the only legal question remaining now is how big of a check Ripple is going to write to the SEC. This is the only legal question left now, as how big of a check Ripple is going to write to the SEC. According to my speculation, they were going to have to pay a settlement price. Something was going to happen that was going to be comparable to what took place with Tesla, Microsoft, and Apple, regardless of whether or not they paid a settlement amount. The Securities and Exchange Commission goes after all of these major corporations because its members are interested in acquiring more power and wealth for themselves. Ripple and XRP have a very good chance of succeeding, despite the fact that there has been no agreement reached over the manner in which XRP was offered for sale to institutional investors. What gives us this information? Just take a look at what went down on July 13th. The judge came to the conclusion that XRP by itself does not constitute a security. As soon as this information became public, the price of XRP shot up by more than 96% in the span of just a few minutes, but that didn't last long, and soon the price was back to its previous level of 50 cents. Imagine what will take place when the final decision is handed down in April of the next year or earlier, if they are able to reach a settlement agreement before that time. Legal clarity is the golden ticket that institutional investors need in order to pile not only into the markets but also into XRP. If they don't reach a settlement and Ripple wins the lawsuit, which is quite likely based on the court processes that have taken place up to this point, the price of XRP may witness significant inflows of money from institutions. This indicates that pricing such to these may never be seen again in the future. The introduction of Bitcoin exchange-traded funds in the United States is the second factor that may drive XRP to experience a significant price increase. You are aware of what people say, right? Bitcoin has reigned supreme and has been the market's undisputed frontrunner, and it has the ability to guide the entire market in whichever direction it chooses depending on the liquidity situation in the various institutions. The path is now set for exchange-traded funds to be created for Bitcoin, and this might unleash an overall positive market independent of the macro market circumstances imposed by the Federal Reserve. Even Gary Gensler might be having second thoughts about spot Bitcoin ETFs, according to a recent development that came as a complete surprise. The future recast in a different form. The Bitcoin would be stored, and in its place there would be a product known as an exchange product, which would be traded on a number of different stock markets. These filings are now being presented to us. I am unable to pass judgment on any one of them at this time, but there are between 8 and 10 options under consideration. Therefore, the Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia in Washington came to the conclusion that the SEC made an error in its decision to turn down Grayscale's proposed Bitcoin ETF. The Securities and Exchange Commission has recently been under attack from a variety of sources, including Congress and Ripple. They are adamantly opposed to the SEC using excessive authority over cryptocurrency. They want it to be friendly towards crypto, and the SEC has no plans to go for an appeal on this topic in regards to cryptocurrencies, which implies that Bitcoin ETFs are inevitable. They want it to be nice towards Bitcoin. The Securities and Exchange Commission is going to be pressured into approving a spot Bitcoin ETF. It was publicized and disclosed. I believe it was last week that we had responded to the SEC's request for information about Bitcoin filing. According to Gary, they are looking at 8 to 10 different ETF filings, which means that the likelihood of them accepting one of them is quite strong. If they accept one, and there is no logical reason for them to reject the others. Now, as of today, Bitcoin has a dominance of 51%, which indicates that it possesses more than half of the entire crypto market cap of the amount of money that is in this industry. This is because Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency ever created. If the price of Bitcoin goes up, the prices of alternative cryptocurrencies will go up too. Since the price of XRP has been tied to the price of Bitcoin, if the price of Bitcoin increases, so does the price of XRP. Now, if we take a look at the hypothesis that Bitcoin's market cycle lasts for 4 years, and it is based on Bitcoin's halving following Bitcoin's halving, is when we see the majority of the money come into the market due to the fact that supply and demand are at play. If XRP is still tied to Bitcoin as it appears to be, then there is a good chance that its price will undergo significant change. Bitcoin is primed and ready to make a significant move, and this move might come shortly after or around the same time as the price of Bitcoin changes in conjunction with this ETF update.